G'day bike riders, welcome back to the Bike Route Buddy channel. Today we're looking at the newly installed shared path that follows the upgraded railway line between South Geelong Railway Station and the Barwon River, and then onto the Surf Coast Highway connecting up to an existing trail. I'm the Bike Route Buddy, bringing you bicycle infrastructure reviews from Geelong and further afield. In 2024, as part of Victoria's Big Build, some section of the railway line between South Geelong Railway Station and Waurn Ponds Railway Station were duplicated. The section over the Barwon River and associated floodplains was still left as single track. It was probably going to be very expensive to build another bridge in this section, so I guess that will be left for another day. There is also another section of remaining single track between Geelong Station and South Geelong Station where the train goes through a shallow tunnel, which again would have been very difficult to duplicate. As part of the railway line upgrade, a new shared path was installed in some sections, namely between South Geelong and the Barwon River, but also a section from the Belmont Common to the Surf Coast Highway via Marshall Station. There is also another section of shared path between the Surf Coast Highway and Waurn Ponds Station that has been there for a few years, and looks as though the funding for it was linked to the construction of the nearby Barnet Boulevard that follows the railway line on the south side. Rather than just riding along the trail, we will look at specific things that I've noticed that are good and not so good on this new trail. Let's start with the connections, as we know that lack of safe connections are one of the biggest barriers for cycling uptake. This section is a crucial link at the western end as it connects up the southern bike link that runs from the centre of the city of Geelong. A couple of kilometres along to the east of South Geelong Railway Station, it connects up to the Bellarine Rail Trail that takes you 20 kilometres out to Drysdale and then another 15 kilometres or so on a gravel path to Queenscliff. This connection from central Geelong to the Bellarine Rail Trail has been on the cards for many years and was on the City of Greater Geelong cycling strategy in 2008, where it states, "Connecting the Bellarine Rail Trail, Barwon River Trail and the Bow Trail is considered by the community and stakeholders as imperative to improving the Geelong cycling network." It also states, "The Barwon River Trail and Bellarine Rail Trail will connect to the Geelong City waterfront via an off-road connection through central Geelong. The Bay Trail will provide a continuous connection to Lara with connections to Cowies Creek Trail and the Tom McKean Linear Trail." So at this stage, there is a connection from the Bellarine Rail Trail to central Geelong, but that is where it ends, with a missing section of about 3 blocks between Little Mallet Street and the Esplanade, preventing the completion of the connections from Lara to Queenscliff, a distance of over 50 kilometres. There are some poor sections on the Bay Trail, but that's a discussion for another day. The section through central Geelong just needs the removal of 10 car parking spaces to really improve the connection to the Bay Trail. We've covered that in our Bike Lanes to Nowhere video. Also in the cycling strategy from 2008, in action item number 60, it states, "Work with VicTrack to install an off-road bicycle connection from the Breakwater Road Bridge to the Bellarine Rail Trail following the railway line." We did get a connection between the Breakwater Road Bridge and the Bellarine Rail Trail, but this section only follows the railway line for some of it before the trail is shunted off onto Breakwater Road. There seems that there may have been enough space to put the path in to follow the railway line, but I'm not really sure of the reason that it didn't continue along here. Further down, it connects to the Barwon River Trails at the old Breakwater Bridge, and at the Surf Coast Highway it connects to the existing trail at Waurn Ponds. So in terms of connections between trails, this is probably one of the biggest steps forward for connections into the existing shared path network. One disappointment was that the connection into the existing Lonsdale Street path was that it was just left with a rough surface and wasn't improved to the standard of the new path. It's only about 20 metres and it lets the new path down somewhat. Let's look at some of the road crossings, starting at the southern bike link at Godinia Park. We have a signalised crossing across the busy Moorabool Street with 60 km/h speed limit. This crossing was already here, but it was not widely used prior to the new path, as it only took you as far as the old South Geelong Railway Station. Now that it connects further, it will see an increase in use. This crossing is pretty good, and the lights change really quickly, provided there hasn't just been a sequence for Lonsdale Street, where the new path starts from. There is one other new signalised crossing on the path at the upgraded Fine Street, where a roundabout was removed and the new railway line was built to go over the road. This crossing is also pretty fast to change, as long as it hasn't been changed just before you get there. There is a major road crossing at the Surf Coast Highway to connect over to the existing path to Waurn Ponds, which is not too friendly for anyone outside of a car, but I guess at least it is signalised. Another upgraded road crossing is Yarra Street, where you also have to cross the street and cross the railway from the southern side to the northern side at the same time. This is a little confusing, but there are some right turning zones for bike riders to wait in while turning right. The no right turn for drivers does make this a little ambiguous, but having this refuge in the middle helps. This route is pretty direct if coming from the south along the southern bike link, but it is a bit of a roundabout way of getting to the station if you're coming from central Geelong. I think many bike riders may continue to go along Kilgore Street and then down Yarra Street, as it is more direct and removes the need to cross Yarra Street and the railway line here. About 500 metres further to the east is another crossing of Swanston Street. The crossing is right next to the railway line. It seems a bit odd that this route wasn't given priority crossing here, but I believe there is something about having a crossing so close to the railway line which may leave drivers queuing over the railway line if they have to stop here at a crossing. I wonder if there could have been a bit more creative thought going into this one to make it safer for kids riding to the nearby schools. Further down, as this path links to the Bellarine Rail Trail, we have to cross Breakwater Road. This crossing is pretty bad for walkers and bikers, and we looked at this in our Why Are Cars Always Prioritised, Even on Main Bike Routes video. Firstly, bike riders are sent out of the way along Breakwater Road rather than the path following the railway line. And you have to make a road crossing right along beside the showgrounds and the racecourse before crossing back over the same busy road. There is not even a warning sign for drivers on these crossings, and this is a 60 km/h road. We install signs for drivers that they may encounter kangaroos and wombats, but kids on bikes are definitely lower on the hierarchy. I really don't understand why a crossing similar to the one on Kilgore Street wasn't put in. It would have had the added benefit of calming traffic and making it safer for families and kids using the path. There is another crossing just a bit further along on Barwon Terrace. This one at least has a refuge in the middle and some signage to alert drivers that you may see people here. Again, a raised crossing would have been much better and safer and wouldn't inconvenience drivers as they are stopping at the T intersection only a few metres further on. Other notable crossings include Marshalltown Road and Reserve Road. Again, limited infrastructure has been provided to make these crossings safe for bike riders. At the new Marshall Station, the path interacts with the access roads to the station. These crossings at least give walkers and bike riders priority, but it would be good for walkers and bike riders to have priority on some of the busier, more dangerous road crossings. Thanks for watching this far. We've got more features to review, but please give this video a like and click on the subscribe button to see more bicycle infrastructure reviews. How about directness? Many paths take you out of the way and do not take you on a direct route. Direct routes are more often reserved for car traffic. The shared path does follow the railway line for some of the route, but it feels that you are constantly crossing from one side of the line to the other. Firstly under the line at the Southern Bike Link, only to cross again at South Geelong train station. Once you're at Fine Street, it is not a very direct route as you are diverted onto Breakwater Road, then crossing back under the line again at the Barwon River. You go on a bit of a roundabout way for the next section as you navigate around the Belmont Common before getting back onto the railway easement. You then need to cross again at Marshall Station, and then cross again after the station, then cross the line again under the new bridge at the Surf Coast Highway. Alright, so let's have a look at the width of the path. The new section between South Geelong and Fine Street is great, with a wide space to allow walkers and bike riders to easily pass. Unfortunately, the middle section along Breakwater Road is a bit narrow. Let's have a look at the Offroad guidelines for shared paths. In Guide to Road Design Part 6A, Paths for Walking and Cycling, from what I can tell, it looks like it should be 3 metres wide, as it is a major connection between the southern suburbs and central Geelong. If this is a recreational path, the minimum width is 3 metres. The path on the next section is only 2.4 metres wide. Let's have a look at some of the amenity. Along the Car Street section beside the railway line, there have been some trees planted that will provide good shade in the future. This will help encourage use, as it will be a nice place to ride, and it will be cooler riding along here in the hotter summer months. Unfortunately, even before the official opening of the trail, 3 of these trees are already dead, so hopefully they will be replaced and the remaining trees will be kept alive with some water through their first summer. Also looking at the amenities, there are a couple of picnic tables installed at Fine Street, which is great, but I'm not sure how many people will be stopping here for a picnic beside this busy road. Maybe back up on Car Street where the trees were planted may be a better location for a picnic. There's also some bike tools here at this station, across Fine Street from the picnic table. It contains a few tools and a pump, which might get you back on the road if you've had a mechanical. Next to the bike tool station, there are some bike hoops. I'm not sure who is going to lock their bikes up here though, as there are not any destinations right here in the vicinity of these hoops. Anyone going to a destination along Fine Street isn't going to lock up their bike here and walk the last 200 metres. They'll keep on riding to their destination and lock up there. We saw the same thing with these bike hoops at the South Geelong Railway Station, where these hoops are way out of the way, so you'll probably never see anyone using them. We covered these in our Victoria's newest railway station video. Let's have a look at the surface. All the new path is really good quality concrete. It's very smooth and hopefully should last the distance. I couldn't really find any bad sections on the new path. However, just at the South Geelong end, the 20 metres or so connecting the path to Lonsdale Street is not really up to the same standard as this path. Most of the surface is good quality concrete. However, there is this section just before you get to the Surf Coast Highway that is asphalt. And there's this section along Gundog Lane that utilises the old road surface as the road is closed to through traffic. At some of the crossings, we still have these steep gutters to negotiate, which could have been made a bit more comfortable. What about destinations? Does this path connect us up to other destinations along the route? So along this route, destinations include the South Geelong Railway Station, Marshall Railway Station, the showgrounds, the racecourse, and it does improve access to the businesses in Fine Street, including Vic Roads. I wonder if any of the Vic Roads employees or customers use this path now. Most of the sections through Marshall are generally residential areas, so it does connect up places where people live now through to these destinations, and those in central Geelong once you've reached the southern bike link. Let's have a look at the wayfinding signs and see if we can navigate through here successfully. They are a bit hit and miss, though I have noticed a few being installed. We have one along the path near the South Geelong Railway Station, and there is this one here at Fine Street which gives me some indication of where to go. Even still, I crossed the road and then expected the trail to continue along the railway line, rather than going up to Breakwater Road. I had to search and backtrack a couple of times to work out where to go. Even once you cross Breakwater Road, it is not apparent that you should head along this path. There is this sign which points you down the footpath on the western side, but there are no ground markings or shared path signs pointing you across the road. And then the first one on this way is not until about 50 metres along the path. So even when I went down this way, I still wasn't sure that I was in the right place until I found these signs. This T intersection on the path has no signage, and although it may seem obvious which way to go, it is not always the case. This one further down at Barwon Heads Road makes you do a loop and you have to go right to go left. Further down, you just get this bike lane sign ends, and you think you've reached the end of the path and you've been dumped out on a busy road. I'm sure some people will then get onto the busy Breakwater Road, then have to navigate this busy intersection. If you turn around, the path crosses Breakwater Road about 50 metres back, but there are no signs to tell you where to go, and you overshoot the crossing. Going back the other way, there is this nicely painted section of path, but then it just seems to end at this concrete pad. The first time I went along here, I thought the path just ended, and I was expected to ride along the road, until a few hundred metres up I noticed the path on the other side of the road. There are some signs at the Barwon River and in the Belmont Common, but these may have already been there. So moving on to line markings, there are some good centre line markings along the sections along the railway line. But this section along Breakwater Road is not only narrower than the Oz Road guidelines, it doesn't have a centre line. This encourages people walking and riding to use the whole path and potentially create conflict between path users. Again, I'm still not sure why this section didn't follow the railway line, but if you know, let me know in the comments. The only on-road section, here along the dead-end Gundog Lane, has good markings and is separated from car traffic, but even here, people manage to park their cars in it. There are not many property access points or crossovers along the railway line sections, which makes these sections great. However, there's some places for conflict between drivers and people on bikes at a few of the crossovers along Breakwater Road. The first is the main entry for the showgrounds. Some yellow or green surface treatment would have been good along here, but at least there is a warning sign, even if it is pointing in the wrong direction. This one at the racecourse entry is not ideal, and this one further down for the racecourse car park, I can predict that drivers will not slow down or be aware of bike riders using this path. Who has to give way here to who? Drivers or bike riders? Well, according to transport.vic.gov.au, you must give way to any pedestrians and bicycles on the footpath, path or nature strip when going in or out of a driveway or private property. So it looks like drivers need to give way to users of this path along here. On the other side of Breakwater Road, where we looked at earlier, at least the path is painted green to alert drivers. This brings me to another point about these crossovers. Many get so much gravel dragged onto them, creating a hazard for bike riders, and in some cases the rocks can be pretty big. These are all examples along the Breakwater Road section. Like the gravel getting dragged onto the path, there is a constant water flow onto the path from these buildings on the showgrounds. I'm not sure what is leaking here, but this constant water flow will cause damage to the surface over time. One last thing to look at is this T intersection. We looked at it before as it has no wayfinding signs. It does, however, have a full-size give way sign. I've never seen a full-size give way sign like this on a shared path, and it seems to be in an odd place. Normally these kinds of signs are placed on the left-hand side of the road before the intersection, not over the opposite side of the intersection. It just seems a little unusual. Anyway, these are some of the things I noticed on the new path. It's great to finally have connections of the shared path and bike routes. Some sections are fantastic, but the section along Breakwater Road still seems a little substandard. I'm still not sure why the path didn't follow the railway line all the way to the river, but if you know, let me know in the comments. It is a really positive step forward for Geelong, but we still need to see more of these missing gaps filled in, like the connection from the Southern Bike Link to Mallop Street and the Bay Trail. There just needs to be 10 car parking spaces removed from Jerringapp Street. It would be great to have the path continue on beside the railway line through the Belmont Common, rather than having to take this roundabout route to get through to the football grounds and along the Barwon Heads Road, where it is not very clear where to go to follow the path. But that's something we can hope for in the future. Overall, this is a huge improvement in the network, opening up a commuter route and recreational route for quite a few more suburbs, and the connection to the Bellarine Rail Trail is fantastic. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button and give this video a like. I'm the Bike Route Buddy, and I'll see you riding on the new path along the railway line between South Geelong and Waurn Ponds.